Well, hey friends, welcome back. It's Rhonda. I am glad you're with me again this week. We're going to be talking about something that I think is pretty important for us to understand as far as, our role as healthcare practitioners, and that is how we kind of fare in this whole process of, kind of identifying ourselves along the journey of developing our skills as wellness practitioners. And about a year ago, I designed something that I call the 5 stages of a successful wellness practitioner. I have found over the course of many years working with practitioners just like you that everybody kind of falls into one of these 5 categories. And in these particular categories, which I'll go over them with you, that's what we're going to talk about today. But in these 5 categories, everybody sort of finds themselves, and it's never a linear journey. As we learn and grow, we think we know everything. We'll use this example. You know how you get out of school and you think, oh yeah, I got the world by the tail. I know how to fix everybody. I'm good to go. And then off you go. And then that first patient walks in that's super hard. And you think, oh crap, I don't know anything. And the more you think you know, as we go along, the more we realize we don't know. And so as we learn more, we realize that we know less. There's always something else to learn. So this path, as we kind of grow and refine our skills and improve them and change opinions. We've all done that. You believe one thing or you think one thing's true, and then either new research comes out or we think, oh, well, I never thought about it that way. Maybe I need to change my perspective about, whatever it is. That's just part of growth. And that's what we have to be okay with. Sometimes it's not that we're wrong. It's just that we learn something new and we have a different perspective about it. So this journey through these 5 stages is never, ever linear. So there's a lot of some kind of bouncing around. So I'm going to go over them super fast with you, just give you a big overview, and then I'll dive into each one. And I think along the way, you're going to find yourself, you're going to identify with whatever that stage is for you. So the first stage, I like to call it the seedling stage. And I kind of made the analogy like an oak tree or some tree. Because as we begin our journey, we really are just, we open a practice, we just know enough. We're just kind of starting to bloom into this role of being a practitioner, whatever your specialty is. But of course, you're here because you want to grow a wellness practice. So at the seedling stage, this is where you're just kind of starting to incorporate the tenets of functional medicine into your practice. And then we move on into the sprouted stage. So we got a few more leaves. We're kind of sprouting out a little bit. You're kind of starting to feel a little more confident. And then we get to a little bit of maturity. And pretty soon, okay, like I'm booming and I'm starting to get some financial rewards, and I maybe have a team, and it's might be small, but I'm kind of got my jam going on. And then we get even more solid and we get really sure about our niche and who we want to serve, and things are starting to work really well. And then finally, we get into what I call the established stage. And that is just where you're super solid. You've got systems in place. And really, for each one of us, this is who we aspire to be and that stage that we really do want to be in. So now I'm going to break down each one of them a little bit more. I'm just going to break it down and give you a little bit more detail. And what I want you to do as you're listening is I want you to really hear me in that there is not one of these stages that's right or wrong. So it doesn't matter where you are in your trajectory along developing and implementing these functional therapies, so to speak, into your practice. It doesn't matter where you are. It's just the fact is just kind of figure out where you are, and then you know where you can aspire to grow and go, right? So that first stage, as I mentioned, is called the seedling stage. And at this point, you're really what you may have found, and you may even, if you're a seasoned practitioner, you may think back on this and go, yeah, it kind of was that, for me in the beginning. You're really committed to learning more about functional medicine. You're confident that you have what it takes to really grow, and you're super inspired and motivated. And if someone asks you, you're going to say, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Like I am stepping into this world of functional medicine, and I'm excited about it, and I'm really, really looking forward to being able to help people. And that's great. Like, I love that. That's just a super wonderful space where you're just passionate, excited about what you're doing, which I guess we kind of stay excited the whole time that we're on the journey, right? So, where I think at this stage, sometimes the feelings and the emotions that you're going to need to watch out for are feelings like you want to rush it. And often we get in and we think, okay, that's it. I need to hire a staff. I need to grow. I'm going to grow fast. And within 6 months, I'm going to have a waitlist practice. We kind of want to rush this stage. The other thing that comes up, and it probably comes up in all the stages, and that is imposter syndrome. That's such a real thing. It's just that feeling of inadequacy, like, who am I? Who am I to do this? Like, I don't know enough. But I always say, as long as you know a little bit more than the patient, then you're the expert in the room. That's all you have to remember. If you know just a smidge more than they do, golden. You are now the expert. There's a lot of self doubt and feeling overwhelmed can really happen at this stage. But at the same time, you're just super determined to make it, really make it work. And so I always recommend that practitioners at this stage start by reviewing and reading some of the basics. Like, there's a book I love called Back to the Basics of Nutrition. I love the E-Myth is a good one to read at this stage. And also the classic, which is Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston A. Price. Love that book. I try and read it every year. So this is a good stage for you to be at. There's just a lot of excitement and you're kind of ready to grow. So now you've been doing this for a little while. You kind of move into that second stage. This is the sprouted stage where you're getting a little, leaves on your tree. You're starting to learn how to be organized and manage your time a little bit better. And you're still learning and you're more confident. You're able to kind of provide some protocols on the fly. You can sit with a patient and kind of work it out in your head as you're chatting with them to know what you want to really deliver and give to them. And you can start to communicate with the patients a little bit differently and letting them know other ways that they may be able to help. You may be able to help them with their health or really feel confident about the directions that you're giving them. Now, at this sprouted stage, very, very often, the more significant self-doubt and imposter stuff comes in where we start to think like, oh my gosh, like, what have I done? I definitely have bit off more than I can chew here. I'm never going to know it all. I got imposter syndrome all over the place. And as you start seeing more patients, you can start to get a little bit discouraged because the patients are like, nah, I don't think I want to do that. Or nope, don't think I want to give up grains or don't think I want to get off, give sugar up on my diet. And it can get a little discouraging. And you think, well, why am I doing what I'm doing then? What's the point? So it can get a little overwhelming here. So it's like this stage is that sprouted stage is where there's a little bit of tension, where you really want to grow and you have the capacity to grow, but you might be getting a little bit of pushback from the patient. But yet you're still confident, still feeling focused. You have those really good days where you're like, yes. And then, sometimes the imposter stuff starts to, yap around at you. But the few of the recommendations that I like to make for this stage, if this is you, there's a great book by Ryan Levesque that's just called Ask. Ask. It's a really simple title. I like that book. I also love the book by Jennifer Allwood, and it's called Fear is Not the Boss of You. I really do love this book at this stage because there's a lot of kind of apprehension and fear that happen here. And then there's another great book called Atomic Habits that I also love for this particular stage. So if you're in the sprouted stage, this is where lots and lots of practitioners that I work with are. They're in this sprouted stage and they really want to get to the next stage, which is that stage where we call the rooted stage. And that's the stage 3 where you just really know you've got a solid system in place. You've probably got 1, maybe 2 team members. Your patients are starting to refer. You're starting to feel like a part of the community. People are starting to recommend you. And this rooted stage can feel pretty good. You probably even have identified the type of patient that you want to work with. Who's your ideal person? What's the ideal condition or situation that you want to work with? And you're seeing great results and you're learning more and you're feeling confident. Like it's really good at this stage. And you kind of start to even think a little bit more deeply about your marketing strategy. Whereas before now you're thinking, oh my gosh, a marketing strategy, like I got to just keep learning. Like, I just need to know more clinical stuff in order to really help these patients, which is true. But you start, at the rooted stage, you're really starting to feel kind of solid. Finances are starting to improve. You're taking home a pretty good income, we hope. And you starting to really like kind of find your jam, which I love this stage because this is when practitioners say, Yeah, like I really love working with, whatever is menopausal patients, or, I love working with patients that have digestive issues, or women in their 40s, or whatever it is. You kind of like find your jam and you get really excited because those patient results are starting to come in. But here's what you want to watch out for. So if you are in this rooted stage where your practice is really kind of starting to take off, it's kind of starting to grow, you want to be careful that you don't compare yourself to others that are ahead of you. It's really tempting to do this right here where we start playing the comparison game. And we think, well, so and so, look at them. They drive in a nicer car, live in a nicer house, or why do they have a waitlist practice and I still have some holes in my schedule? So you're going to want to probably judge yourself for not being a little bit further along. But remember, my friend, this is just a journey, right? We just kind of journey along. And always that imposter syndrome pops up, and you feel like you're never going to know enough. And you may be even feeling frustrated because you want to learn more, but your practice kind of has you, I don't know, in a bit of a chokehold because you've got people that are wanting to get in and you're trying to, get your business situated and get the systems running and hire your people and have your weekly meetings, and then you got patients and email. Like it starts to feel a little chaotic a little bit right here and gets a little bit overwhelming, but you're doing really good. So here are some books that I recommend. There's one by Donald Miller that's called Marketing Made Simple. I love that book. There's another one by Michael Hyatt that's called Free to Focus, and I love that book as well. And then the last one that I recommend for this rooted stage is called The Experience Maker. It's one of my favorite books about creating memorable, exceptional experiences for your patients or your customers as they are. So now, all right, we've gone through 3 stages. We've got the seedling stage, just starting out. We've got the sprouted stage where you're starting to feel a little bit more confident. You're getting organized. You're kind of getting your jam on. Then we go into the rooted stage. And this rooted stage is where things are kind of clipping along. You've found your niche. You're kind of confident. Now we're starting to really mature. You're starting to really bloom into that practitioner. You're feeling very confident. You've got some growth under your legs. You're expanding your team, your business income, your personal income, everything's going up. Your marketing strategy is working really well. You've got systems and processes like, dang, you kind of arrived at this point. But here's where the trouble comes in with this stage is that perfectionism often sets in. Comparison definitely sets in. And imposter syndrome can be really a niggler this time around. So it really can get under your skin where you're thinking, and even some of the self judgment, I call it. And that is when you start thinking, gosh, I'm making a good income and I'm feeling kind of bad about that. Like maybe I'm making too much money. Maybe I'm charging more for my services than I should. All of that sort of self doubt kind of starts to come in. And then also, you usually at this stage, you're really on the cusp of moving up to that established stage, which is the last one. That's where you're like, yeah, baby, the financial rewards are there. You can take time for a vacation. Retirement is starting to work. You may even have enough cash to start investing in buying your own building or investing in some real estate, or, putting money away for retirement. Like you're really feeling like you got the tiger by the tail. You worked hard, you got there. So you can be sometimes a little overconfident here. So I always like to say, slow down. When you feel like you've arrived, there's still a whole nother level that you can go to. So don't get cocky, don't get arrogant, don't go into that perfectionism where everything has to be perfect, because that's going to limit you. What you want to do is just enjoy the process and know that your business and you as a person, you're really starting to grow, mature. You've kind of reached that mature stage, which is why I named it that. And then the next last final stage is just where we really are established. And this is where you really have financial freedom. You have more time freedom. You have freedom to be able to bring in other practitioners. And, so it starts to really feel good to do what you do. And you're never going to, you can always get here, but you're not going to start here. This is where the hard work comes in. That clinical experience really pays off. So here's what I recommend as far as in the reading department, things that can kind of help you get here. You want to think about, I love a book by Michael Hyatt. It's called The Vision Driven Leader. And I love this book. Love, love, love this book. Another one is a book called The Big Leap. the author's last name is Hendricks. And then there's another one called Clone Yourself, which I think is actually a pretty good book too. You kind of have to chew up the meat and spit out the bones with that one, but it is a very good book. So at this mature stage, you're really doing well. And then finally, you're going to be able to move on through into that established stage. And the established stage is when you say, yep, I really did what I set out to do. I grew a very successful practice. People know you, your name is recognized in the community. And it's kind of one of those like, never in my wildest dreams would I have ever expected that I have the life that I do, that I enjoy the things that I can enjoy, that I've got time. I can spend time with my family. My clinic's running on its own. You have this huge ripple effect and ripple impact in your community. You're helping people. You may even have more of a virtual practice that's, outside your brick and mortar or your local area. So, you are stepping really in this last stage into being really spending time being the CEO of your practice, like really doing the work of running the business rather than always being in the business as the clinician. So you've got other people helping you and working with you and that kind of thing. So one of the things you have to watch for here is feelings of being burned out. It's very, very important in these last two stages, the mature and the established stage, that you don't get burned out. That self-care becomes really important here. I guess it's important through all the stages, but especially here. And then it's easy to get distracted by new opportunities. And this is when I can attest to, because this is what happened to me. I had this super successful practice and I got cocky. And I said, wow, I got this great practice. It's making great money. I'm serving all these people. I've got great results. People are lining up outside the door to see me. Hey, I think I'll start another business. And I looked at another opportunity and it just about took me down. I was over $500,000 in debt. Long story. You can read about it on my about page on my website. I think I even talked about it in a prior podcast episode. But this is where we get distracted. We're like, oh, yeah, this is working really good. I'm going to go over here and try something new. So be careful about that. Just enjoy the process. In this established phase, you're really going to lean on others. You're going to let others help you continue to impact people and further your vision. So for reading, I love Mike Michalowicz. I think that's how you say his last name, but it's a book called Clockwork. And you could even read Clockwork at one of the earlier stages, but it's a great book, Clockwork. There's another one that's called A CEO Only Does Three Things. It's very simple, but I really love that book. And then there's another one about money, and it's called The Wealthy Gardener. And I actually really loved this book. I tried to get him on my podcast and never could get a response, but really a great book. I listened to it as an Audible book. So this stage is one that all of us really want to aspire to, right? We want to be at that place where we can say, I did it. Like I built my clinic. I've got people in here working. So if you're a chiropractor, you may have 2 or 3 other associates in. You may have a massage therapist. You may have, a health coach. This is where we kind of arrive. And let me just say this, that this may not be your flavor, meaning you may say, look, I don't think I want to do that. I just want to get through that, up to that mature stage and just get, nice and solid. And I'm good there. And if that's you, that's okay. But I want you to know the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because I want you to know that being a healthcare practitioner is a journey. It really is a journey. And that's why I created this successful stages of a wellness practitioner, because you're never going to know everything. Newsflash, you can't know it all. God knows it all. That's about it, friend. We don't know it all. We're never going to know it all. We're always going to have wrong opinions. We just got to accept that. I might believe something to be true about bioidentical hormones that isn't even true. I don't think so, because I've been talking about it for a long time and I keep, getting my opinion confirmed. But every once in a while, somebody comes to me and says, hey, I think this is why you're wrong. And honestly, I don't really like to listen, but I always do because I like to keep an open mind. But, sometimes you're just going to get in your lane and you're going to just stay in your lane and believe what you believe. And that's okay. But it's still a process. We just have to be open to not only knowledge changes, but also growth within our business. And really, at the end of the day, you and I are probably the biggest limiting factors in the growth of our business because we get in the way. We got all this self-doubt and limiting beliefs, and I'll never do it. I can't make it. I'm never going to make enough money. Well, guess what, friend? If you are talking like that, you're not going to. So I would really encourage you to check out these successful stages. It's linked. I have a PDF of it. It's linked in the show notes, and you can download that, look at it. It's just an overview. But I want you to really think about that. Wherever you are, it's not wrong. Whatever stage you're at, it's okay. And you may make a few lateral moves. You may go back and forth a little bit before you kind of find your niche and settle in and get in your lane, find your zone, know who you want to serve, what you want to do. But I think being a wellness practitioner, I don't think there's any better job. I don't think there's any more fulfilling, wonderful thing to do, because you and I, every single day have the opportunity to transform people's lives. And that process of you and I learning how to be better clinicians just takes time. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. That's all you got to do. Secure your own oxygen mask first, though, before you do anything else. So self-care is really important. Make sure you're walking your talk so that you are around to be able to serve the people that you want to serve. I don't want you getting sick. I don't want you getting burned out and have to be on, high doses of adrenal something because you've burned yourself out. And I asking for a friend, so to speak. Yeah. Been there, done that. It's not a good place to be. So anyway, friend, thanks for listening. I so appreciate you being here.